I always feel like it's very helpful to start with a little bit of where the college landscape is today. So you want to know, all right, I'm applying to Stanford or I'm thinking about applying to Stanford, and what does that look like and how do I go about that? So I say this every year, but we've just wrapped up one of the most competitive admissions cycles in history, with colleges like Stanford receiving record numbers of applications, many from students with perfect GPAs, perfect test scores. And as becomes more and more true each year, being just a good student or just a great student is not enough. Admissions offices could fill their classes with many times over with qualified applicants. And that's why the most selective schools really review applications in a holistic process. They are not just looking for academic excellence, but they're looking for interesting and thoughtful people who will make a meaningful contribution to campus. As a former admissions officer, I've read thousands of applications. I've made really hard decisions about who was getting a spot, who wasn't. And that's definitely the perspective that I bring to every student that I work with. I work to help students understand how they're going to be evaluated, what does matter, what doesn't matter, and really how you can stand out as a student in a pool of high achieving peers. So first off, I'm going to turn it back over to Mike, and we're going to talk about kind of high level what makes Stanford such a compelling university. We'll talk about academics, we'll talk about student life, and what Stanford looks for in an applicant.
Stanford is a unique institution. It offers exceptional academics with internationally renowned faculty. It has the premier college athletic program in the country for over 25 years in a laid back, sunny, and innovative campus environment situated in the entrepreneurial haven of Silicon Valley. Yahoo, Google, Instagram, Snapchat, and LinkedIn were all founded by Stanford students. When I work with students to help them decide if Stanford is a good fit for them, we often have a conversation about their college preferences, everything from academic interests and majors to the location, urban, suburban, rural, school size, as well as school culture. When working with students, it's very important to find the best fit for them and not like necessarily just the name brand of the institution.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mike. Stanford offers an impressive 66 undergraduate majors across 3 of its 7 schools. So those are within the humanities and sciences, within engineering, and then their newest school, the Dewar School of Sustainability. A lot of different popular majors that are up there. You've got computer science, human biology, econ, symbolic systems, which you might be asking, what even is that? So this is a super exciting major that a lot of new students are interested in. I feel like every student that I work with today wants to do something in what this symbolic systems major is. And this is really the kind of intersection of human and artificial intelligence, tech and innovation. So if you are a fan of AI things, this is, sort of where does the human and machine meet, which is super cool. And then plenty of engineering undergraduate majors as well. What is a little unique about Stanford, similar to some other highly selective schools out there, is that students don't have to declare a major when they apply. And even once you enroll, you don't have to formally choose a major until the end of your second year. I think what's nice about this flexibility is it gives you time to explore and experiment. This is a huge benefit. I encourage you, wherever you end up for college, whether it's Stanford or somewhere else, change your major a bunch of times. I changed my major 7 times and I have no regrets. And when I work with students who are thinking about Stanford, one of my earliest conversations with them is academic curiosity or intellectual curiosity. And this is not just because you have to write an essay question about it usually for Stanford. But Stanford is really looking for students who are deeply motivated to learn. Those who are excited to apply their learning in innovative ways. And, I always ask questions like, what are the YouTube rabbit holes that you go down? What keeps you up at night? What classes or topics or ideas have really sparked your curiosity or changed how you see the world? And those are things that I love to work with students to really lean into. And I say this not just for Stanford, but for any school that you might be thinking about, having that sort of intellectual curiosity and doing what you can to explore that while you're in high school is a great way to strengthen kind of your profile and your story overall. But makes for a strong Stanford applicant and admit is not just students who love school, but love learning. And there's definitely that distinction of like, okay, I'm really good at getting A's, or, oh my gosh, I get A's because I absolutely love, this topic and I love learning. And that enthusiasm, I will say, shows up very clearly in applications when students talk about their academic interests, when there's that specificity and that initiative and that joy. It's like, I always talked about, when the students start talking really, really fast about some topic, I'm like, okay, I know you are really, really interested in this. And in a moment, I'm going to walk through the general education requirements. You get a little bit more of a sense of kind of the educational experience at Stanford. But again, thinking about, that intellectual curiosity and that enthusiasm, that's something that really helps distinguish students in the application process. So, general education requirements. The goal of these is to expose students to different ways of thinking, to ensure a really well-rounded foundation. So, your general education requirements give you sort of that solid foundation. Think about the foundation that you're building a house on, and then your major is really the walls, the roof, the other things that you're using to build that house. So the first requirement is the civic, liberal, and global education requirement. So in the first year as a freshman, students will take two college courses that address these kind of broad societal themes. So it could be looking at, all right, how does a city shape culture, states, people, environmental sustainability, what are global predicaments and what are possible solutions? So like, all right, everybody's all about sustainability right now. What are some of the things that we could do to solve that? And let's look at that from a bunch of different lenses. Students can also opt into some year-long residence-based programs, like an immersion in the arts program, where you're living amongst other students who are part of that residence-based program. And as part of that living experience, it's sort of more of a living learning experience. You get to do an in-depth exploration of art, of music, literature, performance. Another year-long residence program is called SLE, Structured Liberal Education. And this is more of a deep dive into both literature and artistic traditions, but with a little bit of a philosophical bent in there. So those are some of the fun things that you can do as part of that requirement. Next, students have what's called ways of thinking and ways of doing requirement. And this spans 8 different skill building areas. These include things like creative expression, where you could take intermediate fiction writing or introduction to museum practice. You'll do a course in formal reasoning. That could be linguistic meaning or law, or environmental economic theory. And then you also have another bucket there that's the scientific method and analysis. A course in there is like how to design a space mission. So lots of cool things that exist within that ways of thinking and that ways of doing requirement. And then there's also a writing and rhetoric requirement. And this is fulfilled through a sequence of courses that help students to develop research, writing, and presentation skills. So this could be courses like writing academic arguments and the art of the essay. You think you've written a lot of essays in high school, you're going to write so many more essays when you get to college. And so this is a really helpful course for students to kind of dig into, all right, what are the essays that I need to write and how do I go about structuring these? Or even another course in ethnic narratives and the rhetoric of American identity. So there's a lot of different ways that you can fulfill this. I think sometimes students get a little intimidated by general education requirements, thinking, oh, I'm going to have to take only this one chemistry class. But what's nice about Stanford is there's so many different types of courses that you can take to fulfill these. And so you're not pigeonholed into one very specific class, but you can really find these different topics that fulfill what you are most interested in learning about. And then finally, there is a language requirement. So students either need to complete 1 year of college level language study or demonstrate proficiency through language testing. So a couple of different ways to fulfill that requirement. And I will say, as at IvyWise, so we don't just end once you get into college and decide where you're going, but we do have a whole team of academic advisors who help students to think ahead about the types of courses and experiences that they might want to pursue in college, help you navigate, okay, I'm at Stanford, and now how am I going to fulfill these requirements? And that could be thinking back to high school, planning your high school courses so that you're set up for success once you get there, but then also helping you to navigate those choices as you go through your undergraduate experience. So I'm gonna pass it back over to Mike to do a little bit more of a deeper dive into some of the other academic elements at Stanford.
So diving deeper, Stanford has a culture of collaboration that fosters research. The university has a sponsored research budget of over 2 billion with a B dollars. The university has 15 independent labs, centers, and institutes that engage faculty and students from across the campus. Stanford offers undergraduate research programs where you can do full-time research with Stanford faculty. Examples include the BioX undergraduate summer research program. This is for life sciences and bioengineering, to psych summer programs for psychology and cognitive science students, as well as even for students in the School of Humanities and Sciences through the Summer Research College. In terms of study abroad opportunities, Stanford offers programs through the Being Overseas Studies program. Nearly one half of Stanford students study abroad at some point during their degree program. Stanford operates in programs in many locations, including Chile, England, France, Japan, South Africa, and Spain. And students are also able to participate in Stanford-run programs. One of my friends who attended Stanford as an undergraduate, he because of the quarter system was able to do 2 locations during his undergraduate career. He did Chile and then also England. So the opportunity to study abroad at Stanford is like a credible opportunity that I would recommend for all students. In terms of internships, Stanford Career Education is a great resource for students looking to secure an internship in the Bay Area or beyond. The center also prepares students for their postgraduate plans, whatever they may be. Stanford's main career center is through the BEAM. This is Bridging Education, Ambition, and Meaning, career education. And they offer job internship listings, career fairs, resume and cover letter support, interview prep, and one-on-one career coaching. They also host events with employers in tech, finance, nonprofits, consulting, and startups. There's also specialized internship programs such as Stanford in Washington and Stanford in New York. These are quarter-long internships that supplement a student's academic experience. In DC, they focus on politics, law, and public service, whereas New York, they focus on arts, media, finance, and tech startups. Also, there is Stanford Seed internships, which are summer internships with entrepreneurs in emerging markets, anywhere from Africa, India, and Southeast Asia. Beyond job and internship opportunities, students make use of the great location in the Bay Area while at Stanford. As I noted earlier, Stanford's location in the Bay Area, near cultural opportunities in San Francisco, San Jose, Oakland, and Berkeley, volunteer and community service opportunities, and nature and outdoors make it a unique place to spend your college years. As an IvyWise counselor, I work closely with students to pursue academics outside of their high school courses to help prepare them for the admission process. I help students identify impactful summer programs and courses, as well as course opportunities at nearby colleges. All of these efforts are in the name of deepening a student's academic interests. Of course, academics are the most important part of a student's experience. So Stanford requires students to apply using the Common Application or the Coalition application. Eligible students are also able to apply using the QuestBridge application. Stanford requires several writing prompts. When I work with students, we have a conversation on kind of what Katie was alluding to, a personal narrative figuring out what are the most compelling um, things that the student wants to articulate in their application to help them stand out. And that the essays are really important, especially for schools like Stanford University, where it's hyper selective in admission. So right now, I'm working with some of my rising seniors on brainstorming essays for the personal statements. And when the supplemental essay prompts come out, we're going to start brainstorming topics for these supplemental essays. And at IvyWise, we give robust, comprehensive support to students, as I mentioned, from brainstorming, we help them outline, to giving feedback and edits to their essays. And one amazing resource as an IvyWise student is Roundtable, which is our mock admission committee. And this is where students can submit their essays, application materials to Roundtable that will be reviewed by multiple former admission officers who will give them very detailed feedback. Many of my students love Roundtable. They try to submit as much as possible. And it's just really helpful to get as many opinions as possible from different admission officers because, you know, at the end of the day, the person who's reading your application may have different values or perspective than another admission officer.